I read The Fault in Our Stars. John Green is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of several young adult novels, including Looking for Alaska and The Fault in Our Stars, and of his nonfiction book, The Anthropocene Reviewed. He was the 2006 recipient of the Michael L. Prince Award, a 2009 Edgar Award winner, and has twice been a finalist for the Los Angeles Times Book Prize. Green's books have been published in more than 55 languages, and over 24 million copies are in print. He's one half of the Vlogbrothers on YouTube and co-creator of educational series Crash Course. He currently lives in Indianapolis with his family, and The Fault in Our Stars was published in 2012. I was wanting to read something fun and a little bit quick and a little bit just easier, and I thought, YA, like that would be a fun like thing. I haven't read a young adult book in a while, so I was looking at my shelves or my shelf of YA, and I saw The Fault in Our Stars, and I was like, you know, that would be awesome.
Why not?
I haven't reread that book in a while. I think I've read it twice. I read it first when it came out in 2012, and then I know I read it once more. So I think I've only read it twice before. So I think this was my third reread. Maybe it's my fourth. Maybe there was another time I read it in there, but I'm not sure. This book is so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so good. When was the last time that you read this?
I only read it once when it came out.
Okay, yeah. So
but I think about reading it all the time. I often think about that book. I'm like, I should read that again.
I think I read it in 2 days. Like, I sat down, I read a huge chunk of it, and then the next day I was like, let's end this. Like, it's so good. I did. Maybe it was 3 days, but it was just 3 like big reading sessions where I was like, this is just, it's so good. I remember when it came out, it was such a big deal on the internet at the time. Yeah. Like 2012 YouTube was a really beautiful fan culture time, and so many of the bookish people loved John Green because he was is a very bookish creator and had these books and everything. And this book also lined up like hugely with the movie and stuff, so there was like there was so much fervor around this book. And I remember he signed a lot of the first edition, and I really wanted a signed copy, and I really wanted it in green because his last name is Green. And I was like, that's epic. So I remember I asked my dad after he dropped me off at school, I was like, could you please go to Chapters today and buy me The Fault in Our Stars with a green signature? The picture of my dad then doing that, going to Chapters for his daughter to try and find her a book that she wants, and flipping through and opening a bunch of copies to find a green one. I just have the best dad in the whole world. So here it is. Here's my green, John Green signature, which is so beautiful. And like, this is one of my prized possessions because of that, because my dad went and dug it for me.
Yeah.
And then he picked me up at the end of the day with the book, and I was like, oh my God. And I flipped it and I saw the green signature, and I was so excited to go home and read it. So yeah, I just love that little story. But reading it this time was so different because I'm so much older. Yeah. I'm not a teenager even a little bit. Like, I'm not close to that at all anymore. And the first time that I read it, I was a teen. I think I was 17 or 19. Nope, it was high school, so 17. And then the second time I read it, I think I was in my early 20s. So I was close. Like, I very much, high school was fresh.
Yeah.
High school is not fresh anymore, you guys. We're 30 now. And so reading this book was so interesting. And I have a couple thoughts. The first thought is John Green is a fantastic writer. The second thought is it is so readable in the most fun way where you don't want to stop reading. Like it's very compelling. Third of all, at the time and even now, John Green gets a lot of comments about like how his characters are too wise for how they're teenagers, but they're talking like they're adults, and they're like speaking constantly in metaphor and everything like that. And I want to debunk that. I think that's dumb. I think that's dumb feedback. I think first of all, he knows that. Like upon reading it this time, he's making these characters larger than life, and I really think it's intentional. I think he's really in tune with teenagers, but I think he's also just not acting like they're dumb. He's like, they are capable of understanding these ideas. And I know when I was a teenager, I was. I never thought that this book was weird or challenging. I felt like it was respecting that I, as a teenager, was smart and did have big ideas. And reading it as an adult, it kind of allows you to tap into that a little bit and to be like, you know, teenagers are not as dumb as adults think that they are, which I think is really beautiful. The final thing I wanted to mention is that I really don't think, it's possible, but I really don't think that the last time I read it, I resonated so much with the mom. Oh. This time I was reading it and I was like, whoa, the mom is a really well fleshed out character. The relationship between Hazel and the mom is really, really important to the book. And I didn't really remember that. Like,
I don't remember that at all.
Exactly. When I read it, I was reading Hazel and Augustus's love story. As an adult, I'm reading it and I'm like, oh my God, I can imagine having a daughter who has cancer and thinking about the immense stress financially, emotionally, spiritually, time-wise that would all take up.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't thinking that when I was 17. And so it's really, really cool that John Green has written a book that works so well for teenagers, but also for adults. And I think that is why it was as big as it was and is as big as it is, because I can see how it works for so many different audiences.
Yeah.
It was also just a nostalgic, like, blast from the past. It was fun to go back to a YA book that meant so much to me at the time. And I really, really enjoyed reading it. And now I'm, like, really excited. Obviously, John Green's announced his new book that's going to be coming out next year. And it's completely different. Like, it's about tuberculosis and it's nonfiction. But I just love John Green. I think he's so great.
Yeah, we'll read anything he writes.